Starbucks under fire.
Starbucks tonight.
This follows the controversial arrest of 2 black men last week.
Hundreds of protesters came out here yesterday to rally.
Starbucks is dealing with a major PR nightmare.
In April 2018, a Starbucks manager in Philadelphia called the police after 2 men sat down without ordering anything and 6 officers responded to the store. Within 6 weeks, Starbucks had closed more than 8,000 stores in a single afternoon. The incident took place on April 12th, when Rashawn Nelson and Dante Robinson, both 23, sat down at a table inside a Starbucks at 18th and Spruce, in Philadelphia's Rittenhouse Square neighborhood. They were early for a meeting with Andrew Yaffe, a real estate associate, to discuss a business opportunity, and they had not yet ordered anything. Nelson asked to use the restroom and was told it was for paying customers only. An employee offered to help them, and they explained they were waiting on a meeting. The manager on duty then called the police and reported the 2 men for trespassing. At least 6 officers arrived at the store. According to then Police Commissioner Richard Ross, the men were asked to leave 3 times before they were arrested, walked out in handcuffs, and held for between 8 and 9 hours. The Philadelphia District Attorney's Office declined to file charges the next day, citing insufficient evidence, and Starbucks did not pursue the matter further. The incident became public after a bystander, Melissa DePino, filmed part of the arrest and posted the video online. By the next morning, it had been viewed millions of times. Starbucks' initial response was an apology posted on Twitter over the weekend. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney said publicly that the incident appears to exemplify what racial discrimination looks like in 2018, and that the apology was not sufficient. Public pressure continued over the following days. CEO Kevin Johnson released a longer statement calling the outcome reprehensible, while protests began outside the store, organized in part by activist Asa Khalif, who called for the manager to be fired. 2 days after the arrest, protesters staged a sit-in inside the store, and Johnson appeared on Good Morning America, saying it had been completely inappropriate for employees to call the police.
There's training that we're going to do with our store managers, not only around the guidelines, but training around unconscious bias. What happened to those 2 gentlemen was wrong.
4 days after the arrest, on April 16th, Starbucks confirmed that the manager who made the call no longer worked for the company, describing her departure as a mutual decision. The company did not release her name or explain how the decision was reached, and her identity has never been officially confirmed. The following week, on April 17th, Starbucks announced it would close more than 8,000 company-owned stores for an afternoon of training on May 29th, covering roughly 175,000 employees. The curriculum was developed with input from Brian Stevenson of the Equal Justice Initiative, Sherilyn Ifill of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Demos President Heather McGhee, and former Attorney General Eric Holder. The Anti-Defamation League was initially included in that group as well, but Starbucks removed them from the program after facing outside criticism. 9 days after the arrest, during an earnings call with investors, Johnson stated that same-store sales had not been affected by the Philadelphia incident. In that same call, Starbucks announced a buyback of 100 million shares, valued at more than $5 billion at the time. Estimates for the cost of the training day closure varied by source. CNBC's calculation, based on figures cited by Howard Schultz, put the loss at around $7 million. Yale's Jeff Sonnenfeld estimated $12 million. Bloomberg estimated $16.7 million. Quartz, using its own model of coffee buying patterns, estimated $18.7 million. By that same week, according to Quartz's tracking of the stock, Starbucks had lost roughly $3 billion in market value. During the training, employees worked through a 68-page guidebook along with a personal reflection notebook. Robin DiAngelo, who consulted on the program, told USA Today at the time, "I don't believe it's humanly possible to be free of bias." 3 days before the training day, on May 2nd, both men reached settlements. The agreement with the city of Philadelphia was $1 each, described as symbolic, along with a city commitment to fund a $200,000 entrepreneurship program for public high school students. The settlement with Starbucks was for an undisclosed amount, along with an offer of free tuition through Arizona State University for both men to complete their bachelor's degrees. By November of that year, Nelson and Robinson had used the $200,000 to launch Project Elevate, an entrepreneurship program in Philadelphia public schools, and had started a nonprofit, Action Not Words, to run it. The policy Starbucks introduced after the incident also did not last. In the weeks following the arrests, the company changed its store policy to let anyone sit in a cafe or use the restroom without making a purchase. Howard Schultz said at the time that the company did not want anyone to feel less than. In January 2025, under new CEO Brian Niccol, Starbucks reversed that policy. Customers are now required to make a purchase to sit down or use the restroom in company-owned stores across North America. The manager who made the original call left the company within the week and was never publicly identified. The two men who were arrested turned their settlement into a nonprofit that continues to operate. Starbucks reversed the store access policy it introduced after the incident almost 7 years after adopting it. The largest financial judgment connected to the case, however, was paid not to either man who was arrested, but to a regional manager who was not present at the store that day.